Yesterday, you whispered a small doubt about a new policy to your neighbor, and at midnight, a sudden knock on the door. You open the door. That's the last time you see your house. Now, you're in a train towards an icy hell. You are now in the frozen Gulag, stripped of everything but cold and fear. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this episode of my Sunday ASMR series called Surviving Humans, where we explore the darkest, most brutal events throughout history and where I give you guys tips on how to survive them. Welcome to Surviving Humans, Surviving the Gulag. We will start things off with tip number 1. Adapt fast or vanish. Your first days in a gulag are your most fearsome days. They are the most dangerous days. New arrivals were called fresh meat, and you were treated as exactly that. You were raw, unshaped, expendable even. Violence, exploitation, and theft were inevitable. Survivors of those first days, they didn't speak, they observed. Who commanded respect? Who stole? Who killed? When did the cars change shifts? They learned when to move, when to freeze, when to disappear. Adaptation wasn't just clever. It was the border between life and oblivion. Moving on to tip number 2. Tip number 2. Trust slowly, but never isolate yourself. Everyone might have been a snitch. Even a friend, especially a friend. Some betrayed for an extra ladle of soup. Others betrayed to avoid a beating. There was no justice, only survival. But beware, because complete isolation meant total madness. You had to walk the razor's edge between connecting and surviving on your own. You must learn to talk in code, to signal kindness without exposure. Guards trust like a fire smuggled through a snowstorm. Too much warmth and it dies. Tip number 3. Work smart, not brave. Showing strength gave you the hardest of tasks. Showing weakness resulted in punishment blocks. The ones who survived the Gulag were the ones who stayed average. They weren't heroic, they were just that, average. And that's exactly how they survived. The trick was to become background noise. Appear reliable, but never shine. The moment someone noticed you, they could decide to break you. Out of boredom, spite, or for the entertainment of others. Moving on to tip number 4. Hunt for the golden jobs. Work in the gold mines of Colima. It meant death in a few months. But some prisoners, they found loopholes. Jobs in kitchens, infirmaries, tailoring rooms even, or, if you're really lucky, administrative tasks. These weren't easy to get, not at all. They were bought, stolen, begged for. Securing one of those so-called golden jobs was a game of politics, manipulation, and sometimes just luck. It didn't mean safety, however. It meant a slower death, and in the Gulag, that was a big win. Moving on to tip number 5. Guard your mind like a fortress. Many inmates survived not through strength, but through mental resistance. They recited poetry to themselves. They imagined entire meals. They replayed memories syllable by syllable, so they wouldn't go mad. The camp could take your body, not your inner world. You had to protect that. If you surrendered your inner world, you would most likely not survive. Moving on to tip number 6. Tip number 6. Don't let hunger destroy your soul. Hunger was the Gulag's most reliable torturer. It warped men into beasts. It made them steal, lie, kill even. It made them betray their brothers and even eat the dead. But even here, some refused. Some even shared crust that they found. They turned away from the theft, not out of piety or defiance. But when you have nothing, morality becomes the last thing that's truly yours. Tip number 7. Let laughter leak through the cracks. Humor in the Gulag wasn't naive. It was razor-edged and brief, but it was vital. Some mocked the guards when they turned their backs. Others made jokes about their own death. Every laugh was a small resistance, a way to remind yourself you were still a human being. The system hadn't erased your voice completely. That is a really important one. Always allow a little bit of laughter. Moving on to tip number 8. Write with memory, not with ink. Paper was illegal in the Gulag. Pens could get you shot. But the human mind became a printing press. Memory turned into a rebellion. Every remembered phrase was an act of preservation, of language, of identity, and of beauty. And obviously, very important to your survival in the Gulag. Moving on to tip number 9. Learn the pulse of the camp. Even terror has a rhythm. Guards had habits. Commandants had rituals and moods. You had to track them like a hunter. The Gulag was a machine. Every machine has patterns. Study them. Know when to hide. Know when to hide your contraband. And know when to fake an illness. Know when to smile. Your life might hinge on knowing the difference between a Tuesday and a Friday. Moving on to tip number 10, the final tip. Stay human, especially when it hurts. Kindness in the camps wasn't weakness. It was a purest form of rebellion. Some wept for dying strangers. Some gave away their rations to the sick. Some just whispered a kind word. In a world that wanted you to turn into ash, the choice to care, even once, was an act of spiritual survival. In the frost, in the filth, in the dark, a single gesture of mercy could mean everything. It could mean you stayed true to yourself. It could mean surviving one of the worst, darkest times throughout history. Ladies and gentlemen, this was today's episode of Surviving Humans, Surviving the Gulag. I will catch you guys next Sunday for the next episode of Surviving Humans. I hope you enjoyed the video. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Bye.